All right, we are recording. Welcome everyone. This is our third general meeting. This is just going to be a quick meeting to update everyone what everybody's been doing behind the scenes because everybody's been working hard. A couple things we have on the agenda are general announcements, just things to keep in mind, deadlines coming up, and then we're going to have the systems team updates, right? We'll have our leads update you on what's been going on the team, just so everybody is well-rounded and knows what's happening. And then after that, just some closing statements. Once again, a couple things to keep in mind moving forward as we progress on in the semester, in the week. General announcements. Proposal is due September 20th. I don't want to beat you over the head with the due date, but I just want to make sure everyone keeps that in mind. It's 3 weeks away. I think it's exactly 22 days or so. And the proposal is due by 8 a.m. September 20th, right? So we don't have till midnight. So basically it's due Sunday night. Okay. General timeline. We're going to talk about this, but we would like to have all of the internal documents done for the proposal by each team by September 16th. So that's the latest day that we would like to have them done, just to give time for myself and Alex and the systems team to go through, stitch all the documents together, and create one final product. Check, read, go through, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, that's one of the general timelines. And the one thing too is to update your hour logs. As a requirement by NASA, we do have to require the amount of work we put into each section of the project, right? This is a requirement for everyone on the team. And then as well as for the students claiming senior project credit, please update the separate hour log for that. That is specifically for Dr. Edberg. And if he checks that randomly, because he does have access to it, and he sees that you haven't updated your logs, I'm not going to have any excuse for you. Sorry. So update your logs. And then birthdays and sponsorships. So as we mentioned, I'm sure you guys have seen the messages around. To please go to the team info, cache on the Google Drive, and update your team info with your birthday. This is just for the SolidWorks 3D pass, right here, as you see in the photo. They require us to give information on everyone on the team, just simple like position, what your role is going to be, our school, and then the location your school is located from, et cetera, et cetera. And the last thing we needed from everyone was the birthdays. Everything else we had already. And so as soon as that's done, we'll submit that, and hopefully we'll be awarded the sponsorship and be able to have a cloud sharing software to make SolidWorks working much easier, which was a big thing last year. No one wants to dig through 18 different files of the same component because it's not fun. Next, I will be moving on to the payload team.
All right, so for payload updates, payload has been doing a lot of research on ways that we can complete the mission of locating the launch vehicle after it's landed. And today we're hopefully going to decide on the top 2 or 3 front runners so we can do even more in-depth research to see if it's actually feasible for us to complete this. And these involve a tracking camera with beacons, with a beacon at the launch pad or beacons at the 4 corners of our grid, or possibly using echolocation or IR strobes. Another item that we were looking at was a LiDAR camera. Yosef was actually able to organize a meeting with a company that has a very nice LiDAR camera, and we were going to be meeting with them on Tuesday. After that, we are going to look at the chosen methods for completing the mission and hopefully define some criteria for down selection in decision matrices. And using the chosen method from this, we're going to determine what the best vehicle type would be for the mission. After we choose our vehicle type, we're going to look into the different components for the vehicle and take some notes on them and have some information on that for the proposal, and then start on the preliminary designs of the drone or rover.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Moving on to payload integration.
All right, cool. Yeah, so everything going on with payload integration, again, mostly research. This week, we're going to actually start using the justifications for the components that we're selecting between the microcontrollers and any of the sensors we're using. So just an update on part of the handbook interpretation that we're kind of using moving forward. So the handbook specifies that the remote controlled release mechanism for the UAS is only necessary for payload deployment during descent, which is something we're going to try to clarify. But moving forward, we're just going to be under the assumption that deployment from the ground can be fully autonomous, which is what we're going to kind of be building our skeleton around. So from here, just kind of having some continued brainstorming around that idea. So keeping in mind something from deployment to the ground, just trying to keep it as easy as possible. Keeping in mind that, things like we won't know the orientation of the rocket and the easiest way to tell when the payload is grounded. For those of you here from PLI, just a quick reminder that we are going to be staying after the meeting to talk with payload and get a better idea of exactly what the payload is going to look like and how we can build our system around that.
Yeah, and then also anyone on the team is welcome to join up if you want to watch or just spitball some ideas. Ideas are welcome. Maybe you know something we don't.
Yep.
So if you have time, you can stick around, and we'll be in the Discord, Payload Comms, discussing payload and payload integration. Sweet. Moving on to structures.
All right, so yeah, we basically started drawing our preliminary drawings for the air brakes and SolidWorks. Lachlan actually came up with a drawing already where a DC motor will be used to extend out the flaps, and we came up with 2 other designs that we're gonna draw by next week, where we have actuators pushing out the flaps straight out 90 degrees, and then we'll have a reverse umbrella design where it would we also use actuators to stick them out about a 45-degree angle. And Garrett came up with the 2 architecture configurations. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the main difference basically is on the top we'll have the avionics in the cone, and we'll have that made out of fiberglass. That way all the signals can come through nicely. Or we'll have the whole rocket be made of fiberglass if we have the avionics closer to the center of the rocket. That's all we did so far.
Yeah, and then keep in mind these configurations are tentative to change, as a lot of stuff is still in the air right now. The designs, material selection, et cetera, et cetera. This orientation of locations could change, but just the general structure, so everybody can get an idea of like where things might go. Moving on to analysis.
Yes, we've been doing some material research and choices. We came up with a few with fiberglass, carbon fiber, polycarbonate, and some phenolic tubing. I understand that phenolic tubing is just not where we're gonna go, but I want to put in the proposal saying that we've considered it at least. We've done some fin shapes, various types of fin shapes and aerodynamics effects. I've also want to look into. Garrett mentioned that we had to do. Spoke to me that we have to do some air brake dynamics in terms of drag effects, as well as like but that will no, yeah, more so actually on air brake placement on the rocket, as well as the orientation in relation to the fins. We would look into that very soon. And just a note I put on for open rocket. To my team especially, we're free Wednesday, correct? Afternoon. So because Garrett wants to go over like an open rocket tutorial with you guys. Is that correct? Wednesday evening is good for you guys, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that works.
Sick. All right
Also,
then.
If anybody can't make it on that particular day or at that time, just let me know and I'll be able to give you a one-on-one session if need be.
yes, this also goes for anyone else on the team that would like to join the session and maybe learn some more about Open Rocket. You're more than welcome to join. It's not only limited to the analysis or the structures team. Anyone on the team can join if you just want to learn a little something.
Hey, Boomy, what
Useful
time?
information.
Not know exactly, but I believe around like 7:30. I believe the.
Okay, Boomy,
Don't remember.
figure out the time today, post
Yeah.
it in the Discord, and we'll make an announcement.
For sure, bro. I will.
Okay, sounds good. Moving forward, we now have avionics.
As far as the avionics, we have done some research on altimeters and GPSs. So we're gonna start to begin our trade matrices for these. And we want to look at the cost, the components, if it comes with anything extra to save money. And then as far as the labor, how long it will take to set it up if needed, to put in a backup unit or something like that. And the manufacturing process. So is it plug and play, or do we have to solder it or anything like that to get it ready? And next we have the AVB design. So we're gonna start at least 2 alternative designs in our SolidWorks. So we have, these are just old pictures. The one on the left bottom is, it has 4 charges, 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom. And that's one configuration. And then to the right is the configuration from last year, where it has 2 charges, and it is paired with the shoot release made by Jolly Logic there on the right. And those are just 2 different ideas that we need to start putting together, and possibly more ideas, but we'll start with 2 for now. And I'll be passing it on to parachutes.
So for parachutes, we've been looking into various parachute shapes, such as elliptical, cruciform, and toroidal. We've also been researching packing methods, such as fold, roll, and wrapping method, as well as using a deployment bag or a pressure pack. And we're gonna be comparing all of this in our trade matrices, which we're gonna begin this week. And for example, our parachute trade matrix might compare stuff such as the stability at high or low speeds, which plays into whether it'll be a better drogue or main parachute. And we're also going to be comparing the efficiency, such as the coefficient of drag. So the higher that is, the slower the rocket will fall. And we'll also be comparing the average price for each parachute. Then again, this does compare on the size we get. So we may be comparing that as well. And yeah, we're also going to be comparing various ways to eject it, since we can't use motor ejection. And yeah, so passing it on to Anthony.
For the system updates, the systems liaisons know what work has to be done for each subsystem, right? To continue working on each sub-team Gantt chart and the WBS in a whole. Start developing a preliminary bill of materials for sub-teams, just asking a general idea of what materials will be needed and the cost, just so we can have a rough estimate ballpark, because we do require a bill of materials for the proposal. And then you guys will be having a writing session on Tuesday during your general meeting for verification matrix, safety, and sub-team descriptions. Now we'll be going off to the closing statements. Once again, your hour logs, just a reminder, please do them. And then if you haven't submitted your team bio and photo, please do so. We'll be submitting those to Umbra for the website this week. Once again, birthdays for the sponsorship, and then outreach has been contacted. And if you guys have any high schools, colleges, middle schools, elementary schools, et cetera, that might be interested in our outreach program, then we can talk to them, maybe give a presentation, maybe set up a seminar where we build or show off what we're doing. Please contact Angela, our outreach officer, right? And then, as I mentioned, soft deadline for the proposal is the 15th. The absolute last day internally would be the 16th. And then follow us on Instagram. Tell all your friends. The more people we have on Instagram, the better, because the more people we can influence, and we can say that we have a farther reach for our social media platform, as it is a requirement by NASA to have a social media platform.
Yo,
And
Nathan.
what's up?
Dude, I got a question about the Instagram, man. You know how you can add story highlights, and it's just kind of like that story that's always available on your profile on Instagram?
Yes.
I was wondering, dude, could we put previous launches in those stories highlights? Because I feel like it would, bring more people to the NSL page if it's just a very easy hey, this is this launch, this is this launch, and they can just see the video.
Yes, we could. That is definitely a great idea. Alex will get on that. If you guys have any questions or any ideas like that for the Instagram, please contact Alex, our deputy. He's the one managing it right now, as well as Angela. They both have access to our Instagram and our social media. Another thing, I know there was some confusion upon where most of the proposal writing will be done. Just to clarify that confusion, most of the proposal writing will be done by the sub teams. So payload team will be doing the payload proposal writing, and then your system liaison will be helping you, but not responsible for the entire task. And as for outlines and justifications, right, the systems liaison will make sure you're meeting all the requirements, but how you structure your section of the proposal is up to you. And then all the proposal writing will be done in the Google Drive. And then once the finalized document is done, the systems team and Alex and I will move it to the OneDrive and then essentially create one giant final document that will turn to a PDF and submit. I hope that clarifies. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead. Now's the time to ask because the presentation is pretty much over.
I have a question about that outreach. Is it going to be done in like a in-person presentation, or would we be doing it over a Zoom call? How would that work?
Okay, so for the outreach will depend upon the school we're doing. So last year we did a lot of Zoom because COVID restrictions were heavier. And this year we would like to have a more in-person approach to outreach. However, if things, don't pan out that way, we could always do via Zoom. So right now our goal is to do in person, but it also depends on the schools because I know some schools have returned to in-person classes and some of them are still like mostly virtual or some sort of hybrid in between.
Okay, sounds good.
Sweet, sweet. Any other questions? I'll take that as a no. I'll go ahead and stop the recording then.